The human face was built to lie, but it was also built to fail. Words can be trained. The voice can be controlled. Posture can be rehearsed. But the face can't. And that's why there's one detail that separates the manipulator from the manipulated, the strategist from the innocent, the hunter from the prey. It's what they call microexpressions, expressions that flash in less than a second. So fast, the brain doesn't even have time to erase them. A leak, a mistake, a reflex from the primitive mind. And today, I'm going to teach you what most people never see, the exact moment the mask falls. After this video, you will never look at people the same way again. If you want to see beyond the social theater, leave a like and subscribe, because here, there is no fantasy. Here, you learn how power truly works. And stay until the end, because I'm going to give you a complete method, how to use microexpressions not only to detect, but to persuade, dominate, and control the emotional rhythm of any conversation. What microexpressions are. Microexpressions are involuntary facial movements, tiny facial signals that reveal real emotions. They last between 1/25th and 1/5 of a second. And why does that matter? Because there's a brutal difference between what people say, what they mean, what they feel, and what they're trying to hide. Most people live trapped on the surface. They hear words, and they believe. But words are cheap. Words are performance. Words are manipulation. The face isn't. The face is instinct, the animal behind the social character. And once you start mastering microexpressions, you gain an unfair advantage. You begin to see who's afraid of you, who secretly despises you, who's attracted, who's uncomfortable, who's hiding something, who acts confident but is weak inside. Microexpressions are the language of impulses, and impulses control decisions. The most important rule: don't act like an amateur. Listen carefully, because this is where 90% of people fail. Microexpressions are not magic. They are not proof. They are not, "She touched her nose, she lied." That's beginner content, child-level psychology. The right way to use microexpressions is different. You don't look for lies, you look for emotional tension. Because when a microexpression appears, it only proves one thing: that emotion exists inside them. But it doesn't tell you why. Example: someone says, "I'm fine," and a microexpression of anger flashes. That anger could be anger at you, anger at themselves, anger at someone else, anger because they feel pressured. So you don't assume. You investigate. A microexpression doesn't give you the answer. It gives you the weak spot. It shows you where to dig. And that's what a strategist does. They apply pressure in the right place. The real secret: microexpressions are not just for reading, they're for control. Now listen to this, because it's the difference between knowledge and power. You don't use microexpressions only to understand people. You use them to guide people. How? You observe their face. You see what they truly feel, and you adapt your words to increase comfort, seduction influence, increase pressure, dominance and submission, increase guilt, to gain concessions, increase fear, to establish respect, increase desire, to create attachment. Microexpressions tell you which emotional button is exposed, and whoever controls emotion controls decisions. The 7 universal microexpressions, with examples, plus manipulation use. 1. Anger. Anger isn't screaming. Real anger is restraint. Signals: eyebrows lower and pull together, hard, fixed stare, Lips pressed tight. Nostrils flare. Real example. You ask someone, "Why did you take so long to reply?" They respond, "I was busy." But anger flashes for 0.2 seconds. What does that mean? They felt controlled, challenged, invaded. Anger appears when someone feels their dominance is threatened. How to use it in manipulation. Don't apologize like a weak man. Make them expose themselves. You say, "Understood." Then silence. Then, "I just found it interesting." You normally reply fast. 2 weapons. Silence. Observation. They feel analyzed. Control returns to you. 2. Fear. Fear is pure vulnerability. Signals. Eyebrows rise and pull together in the middle. Eyes open wide, mouth slightly open with tension. Real example. You say, "I know more than it seems." They say, "What do you mean?" But fear flashes, meaning you touched something they don't want discovered. How to use for persuasion. Fear opens a doorway. The need for safety. So you apply pressure calmly. Relax. "I just want the truth." Then silence. Then, "Tell me." People confess here. Why? Because fear puts the brain in survival mode. And in survival mode, people search for an exit. You become the exit. 3. Disgust. Disgust isn't only about smell. Disgust is moral judgment. Signals. Nose wrinkles. Upper lip raises. Real example. You share a big ambition. "I'm leaving this country. I'm going bigger." They say, "Nice." But disgust flashes quickly. What does that mean? They think you're ridiculous. They feel superior. How to use for manipulation. Disgust is hidden disrespect. You crush it immediately. You're not the type of person who understands ambition. That sentence creates hierarchy. It turns their superiority into insecurity, because disgust comes from, "I'm above you," and you destroy that. 4. Sadness. Sadness is loss. Signals. Inner brows rise. Eyelids droop. Mouth corners drop. Real example. You ask, "Are you okay?" They answer, "Yeah." But sadness flashes. Now you have 2 power paths. 1. If you want connection and influence, you don't look okay. Talk to me. 2. If you want dominance and control, all right. And you change the subject. Sometimes the highest control is refusing comfort. Sadness is also need, and need can be weaponized. 5. Surprise. Surprise is neutral shock. Signals. Eyebrows rise. Eyes widen. Mouth opens without fear tension. Real example. You say, "I saw what you did." Surprise flashes, meaning they didn't expect to be caught. How to use for persuasion. Don't explain what you know. Let them fill the void. You just say, "I know." And you stay silent. Silence plus surprise makes the mind create stories. They'll reveal themselves trying to guess what you know. 6. Contempt. The most important one. Contempt is superiority. Main signal. Only one side of the mouth rises, a half smirk. Real example. They respond with that crooked half smile. That's contempt. They're reducing you without saying it. And here's the dark truth. Contempt is the beginning of the end. Where contempt exists, respect dies. And without respect, influence dies too. How to manipulate and reclaim power. You destroy the game instantly. You stop and say, "Do you find this funny?" Silence. Say it. They'll deny it because contempt is cowardly. It hides in implication. Then you finish it with cold dominance. Then control your face. And you move on. That's power. 7. Joy. The only one that exposes itself. Real joy is the only expression that can't fake perfectly. Signals. Mouth corners rise symmetrically. Eyes tighten with crow's feet. If the eyes don't move, it's not joy. It's acting. Real example. You say, "I like your style." If joy is real, you gained ground. If it's fake, they're performing politeness. How to use for seduction, persuasion. You tease. You like that, didn't you? They show real joy again. You advance. Real joy is emotional permission. Microexpressions and love. The correct method. Now let's get to the real power. The best way to use microexpressions isn't asking, "Are you lying?" It's using this method. Question, pressure, leap, direction. 1. Neutral question. Did you talk to him? Were you really there? Did you like it? 2. Controlled pressure. Silent. Eye contact. Presence. This is where people break. 3. The leak. A micro-expression appears. 4. Direction. You choose the path. If fear appears, become safety. If anger appears, become calm authority. If contempt appears, cut them and set boundaries. If sadness appears, comfort or withdraw attention. If surprise appears, use silence to force disclosure. This is real manipulation, not face reading. It's emotional destiny control. Practical scene. Examples ready for your edit. Scene 1. The question that destroys lies. You ask, "Are you sure that's what happened?" If fear flashes, you say, "Look at me." Say it again. People crumble here. Scene 2. The dominant silence technique. They say, "I didn't do anything." You look at them, emotionless. No reaction. Then, "Okay." Silence. If they're innocent, they stay stable. If guilty, they start over-explaining. They try to fill the void. Guilty people hate silence because silence feels like judgment. Scene 3. Contempt inside a relationship. They do the half smirk again. You say, "Do you have a problem with me?" Silence. Speak. If they hesitate, you conclude, "Then you don't respect me," and you withdraw attention. Contempt wants a reaction. You give consequences. Scene 4. Fake friend disgust. You share your future vision. They say, "Nice." Disgust flashes. You stop. You think I didn't notice. Silence. It's okay. Keep pretending. That creates social fear. You become a threat. Ending. Noir impact. Most people live hypnotized by words. Pretty words, fake smiles, polite acting. But you know the truth now. The face lies, but it always leaks. You don't need to guess. You just need to see. If you want part 2, I'll teach you how to intentionally trigger micro-expressions, how to apply pressure without looking aggressive, and how to dominate conversations with silence and rhythm. Subscribe and comment, "I see." Because from today, you will see differently.